All right, this is going to be a fun video with Fastball English. We are looking at farther versus further. Now, a lot of people get this wrong. You don't want to sound like an idiot at the party. So let's get farther versus further correct today. That is our goal. Farther has to do with physical distance. Anything physical, remember that. Farther is far. Far, physical distance. You can measure it. It's calculable. Okay? The campsite is farther down the river. The campsite is farther down the river. It's way down there. It's farther down. It's farther down the river. He walked farther into the forest than anyone else. He walked farther into the forest than anyone else. How much farther do we have to drive? You're driving far. You're driving a great distance. Dad, how much farther do we have to drive? How much farther do we have to drive? My house is farther from school than yours. My house is farther from school. It's far from school. You see that? How far do we have to drive? The campsite is far down the river. He walked far into the forest. How much farther do we have to drive? My house is farther from school than yours. She threw her javelin farther than the other competitors on game day. She threw her javelin farther than the other competitors. So all of this, remember, all you have to remember is physical distance. Farther. If you can measure it with a ruler, basically, it's going to be farther. Physical distance, a physical location. Further is about ideas, time, effort, or planning a future discussion. Further. We need further research before making a decision. We need further research before making a decision. Without further questions, we can end the meeting. Let's end the meeting today. Without further questions, we can end the meeting. She decided to take her education further with a master's degree. She decided to take her education further with a master's degree. Let's not discuss this further tonight. Let's not discuss this further tonight. He pushed himself further than he ever thought possible. He pushed himself further than he ever thought possible. See, you can't measure these. We need further research. You can't measure the research. Without further questions, you can't count the questions. She decided to take her education further. There's no physical distance with a master's degree, right? Let's not discuss this further tonight. There's no distance that we're not discussing it. Physical distance. He pushed himself further than he ever thought possible. It's an abstract idea of further versus physical distance measured of farther. Okay, let's look at some examples. These are all farther, physical distance, fill in the blank. Farther. The road goes much farther than it looks. I can't run any farther without taking a break. We hiked farther into the mountains today. How much farther until we reach the village? The treasure is hidden farther down the beach. Can you throw the frisbee farther than before? The lake is farther than the park map shows. We need to drive farther to find a gas station. They moved the fence line farther back. You can measure the fence line. You can see it physically. They moved the fence line farther back. She jumped farther than all her classmates. A physical jump. Okay? Let's look at further. Abstract ideas. Remember, non-physical. So none of these things should be able to be measured. Further. We need further discussion on the issue. Without further delay, let's get started. She took her studies further by enrolling in extra classes. Is there any further information about the event? The company plans to expand further into Europe. For further details, please check the website. He explained the project further during the meeting. I don't want to argue about it any further. The teacher encouraged him to go further with his research. They postponed the trip to further notice. I just love this concept and I love this video because farther and further are some of the most confused things for people. It's very difficult when people are doing tests, quizzes, school exams, trying to get a certificate for something, for language. It's very difficult for people to distinguish and differentiate farther and further. So this is awesome that we're doing this. Farther, remember, is physical distance. Further is more abstract ideas, time, effort, things about a future discussion. We will discuss this further. You can't measure further, but you can measure farther. Okay? Hope this helps.